Hi guys, welcome to my channel, Michi Makes Up. Today we're going to take a look at some new Chanel makeup that just launched in the States yesterday. Of the entire collection, I got two items. These two I was most drawn to ever since I saw their first photos, I would say maybe 2 months ago at this point. So what I have here is going to be the eyeshadow quad, and this is 374 Allure et Éclat. Then I also have a newly released shade of their Stylo Ombre et Contour. This is in Burgundy Perlé. Today, I already actually have my foundation, primer, contour, everything on, brows, everything. So we're just gonna dive right in and do some swatches of the quad and then create looks with it. What I've noticed from this quad that's different from other Chanel quads is that these shadows, the way they sit, they don't have that dome shape. They're flat and recessed into the palette, which is really interesting. I'm not sure what the thinking is behind that. This is what the shades look like on my fingers. They are very pearlescent in the color payoff and the sheen that they have. They feel really nice to swatch, so we'll see what they look like on my arm. I guess I would call this the burgundy shade, and then we have a light, very light shade. Has a pink undertone to it. And then we have a very pearly, glistening color. Then we have the last shade here, which is more glittery in its finish. This shade definitely swatched much lighter on my wrist. It's actually kind of hard to see. We'll see how I can build this up on my lid. I do like the effect, this glittery effect. It feels really soft to the touch, but the effect is very, very apparent. Moving on to the Stylo. If you need more product as you use this, you can just turn this at the bottom to get more of it to come up. So quick swatch of the Stylo on the back of my hand. I was kind of expecting this to have some kind of sheen or glistening finish to it, but it is matte. These Stylos are described as a 3-in-1. You can use it as a kohl pencil or a regular eyeliner or eyeshadow, where you apply some of the product on your lids and then you use a brush or finger to blend out. So we are going to use both today. With the quad, this I did not know. I found out on the website that these quads are, well, they have 4 shades, but the actual name of them is Multi-Effect Quadra eyeshadow. And I suppose the Multi-Effect Quadra part is in reference to how you're able to create 4 different types of looks with these quads. The 4 that they have listed, they label it or call it as natural chic, sophisticated, seductive, or smoky eyes. And I'm not sure what kind of look I'll create with this. I think we will just let the color story and paired with this kind of guide us on the type of look. I definitely want to make full use of this, so we'll probably use it both as a liner, maybe a bit as a shadow on the outer corners, and then also as a kohl liner to tight line on the bottom lash line. So why don't we get started here with this deep shade, adding that to the bottom lash line all the way through and building more product on the outer corners. And then I'm going to add this shade here right above the deeper shade. Repeat on the other side. And then with a finger, I'm actually going to go into this very glittery shade, and we're popping that to the center of the lid, just right here to add some dimension. I'm going to go back in to the deeper shade here, and we're adding more of that towards the inner corners, and we're building up to the center of the lid because I want more of the deep shade to come through when my eyes are opened. Okay, now I'm ready to go in with the pencil. What I'm going to do first is actually just line on the upper lash line, and then I'll probably add a little bit more product here so we can do some smudging. And I'm going to take my smudge brush, and we're just blending that shade out a bit more. And what I'm doing now is I'm going back in to establish or further establish this kind of wing shape, and I'm blending more of that deep shade towards the center or the middle of the lid. And you can see, because we are not really dipping back into here to add more product, it's now being blended out, and you can see kind of like a lighter color of this deeper shade. So there's some variance here. Let's add the liner to the other side. Now we're going to take the burgundy liner and we're applying that to the lower lash line as a tight line. Then I'm going to go into this shade here, and I will add some of that to the inner corners. And then we'll add some of that to the brow bone as well. For blush, I'm going to take McQueen. This is a Korean brand, and this is their Lovesome Blusher in 01 Apricot Peach. It's really, really pretty. It's basically what I use for another video, and I already have this blush using this brush. It's really, really pretty, and you can see this color here is basically from this blush. I did use this for another video. So I'm keeping the eyes fairly dramatic. So I like to have everything else look a little bit softer. And then for highlighter, we're gonna go with Mario's Master Secret Glow. This is in the shade Expensive. It's basically a balm. I'm looking for some glistening and a sheen that when the light hits, it has that reflective quality to it, but I don't want any sparkle because I like how this look is. There's some sparkle, like the slightest, softest sparkle on the lids. So we're keeping everything very low key here. We just want something that would complement this overall look. And I find with this balm, it will go with anything. It's like basically taking either the blush that you have underneath or your own skin color, and that's what it's gonna show. So no matter what shade of blush you have on or what color your eye look is or your lipstick, it's gonna go with anything. For lips, I'm going to use Wayne Goss's lip liner in the shade Sophia, and we're going to line the lips. And then we're taking Victoria Beckham's Posh lipstick. This is in the shade Pose. Just gonna add a bit more blush. This is the finished look. Now that we're finished with the look, I'm going to do some cross-brand comparisons. Now, I don't have a lot of eye pencils, but I do have one that I think is similar in tone. We'll see if that's the case. When I look at the Chanel Quad, this shade really stands out to me. I am not drawn to, these really light white shades basically. I know they can be used as like toppers and inner corner highlight, brow bone highlight, but usually I would not go for a quad that has two extremely light shades. Like I need something, some other apparent undertone, like maybe more pink, maybe a bit of blue, something else. So this was definitely different for me, and I think I ended up with this look because I was most drawn to this deep shade here, and then playing around with this kind of pinky shade to see what kind of effect that I could achieve. What's interesting is as I blended this out, you can see right here, it almost looks kind of like purpley pink, which I'm sure blending this shade out on top of what's already here from this like pinky shade, I'm sure that kind of transformed it and gave it, an unexpected effect, which I think looks really pretty. The shade alone looks really pretty, this pink here, but again, it's gonna blend right into my skin tone. If I use it by itself, it's just not gonna give me the kind of definition that I prefer from my eyeshadow looks. So back to this deep shade here. It looks plummy, but when I swatched it on my wrists, it appeared much more brown. On the lid, I do think it looks true to what's in here, but I'm sure as I move around, and I think that's evident also in as I blended out this shade, you can see, it's no longer so much like plum or burgundy. It kind of has this like transformative effect, but it's very, very subtle. So I don't have anything that's quite like that. However, it does really remind me of this shade from Tom Ford's Mercurial Quad. This is his extreme formula, and you can use these shades wet or dry, but they're gonna be quite different. So it's much deeper, has a pretty deep brown tone to it. And the next quad I want to take a look at is from Dior's holiday collection. This is Black Night in their collection Golden Nights. So that center shade is a nice burgundy color. It's deeper than, I would say it's deeper than Tom Ford's, but has more of a purple tone to it. Finally, I have a Quint from YSL. This shade here might be similar or most similar out of all the comparisons, perhaps, mayhaps, nope. It's definitely more brown and purple than it is. This shade now from Chanel in comparison just looks so much lighter. It almost looks pink, which kind of makes sense because again, the sort of pink here once it's been dispersed is really coming through. So interesting. Well, I did not totally expect that from just looking at it like this. I would say, oh yeah, it's a little bit similar to, what's on YSL and, might be a little bit similar to what's on the Dior Quint, but it's actually not at all. They're quite different. And so let me put these shades on my arm, and then I'll take out one more palette that will try to see if there's a shade that is similar to Chanel's. Then we can move on to the pencils. These three ended up being pretty similar to each other. So I ended up taking out two eyeshadow palettes instead of one. Both are from Pat McGrath, and I thought maybe it's not so much that Chanel's shade is like burgundy, maybe it's more mahogany. So I have here Bronze Seduction and Divine Rose 1. We're actually going to compare against the matte shades on each of the palettes. So from Bronze Seduction, I'm going to take Entanglement. And then from Divine Rose 1, I'll take Extreme Mahogany. I think both will be deeper, but the brown in those shades makes me feel like it might be a closer match in terms of like a wrist swatch. Okay, Extreme Mahogany is very deep, but this Entanglement has that, feels like it's from the same family, has that vibe, but obviously this is a matte shade, and this has like a soft satin sheen to it. All right, I think I can say conclusively that I don't have anything in my collection that is quite like this this shade here. And I know I don't have anything that's quite like this either. I do have some, you know, light, rosy, pinky type metallics, but nothing quite the shade. And what I do have that's in this range is going to be from Natasha Denona, and it's much more intense. This has a much softer payoff. Moving on to the eye pencil, the swatch that I did earlier with the pencil is still on my hand. I did try to go into with a smudge brush to kind of blend it out to see how it would behave or how it would work. And what I ended up doing is I ended up adding a little bit of this shade here on top of it, and it looks really beautiful. So with the eye pencil, you can further transform it by adding something with more texture, like a glitter texture or metallic texture, to give it an interesting effect. So the pencil that I have in mind is from Charlotte Tilbury, and again, I don't have that many eye pencils anymore, and this is her Color Chameleon line. I want to say these are still available, but it's been some time since I've seen them on her website. I hope they're not discontinued. Well, whatever I find, I will include in the description. This is in the shade Bronzed Garnet. Now we know the Chanel one is matte, and this is metallic. I did a clean swatch of the Chanel Stylo right here, and this is from Charlotte Tilbury. I think the two are similar, but there's definitely more brown and there's more purple in the Chanel pencil. And obviously the texture is going to be different. One is metallic, the other is matte. This pencil does not budge, and this is also supposed to be very long lasting, so I don't expect it to budge either. I'm going to wear it for the next couple of hours. We'll see what happens. Overall, of the two new items that I've tried, I do like the eye pencil a lot. Just because the formula is very easy to work with, and you can use it as a kohl pencil. You could just use it as eyeshadow, blend out. It's very much one and done and very easy to use. When it comes to this color story here, again, it's not something I'm naturally drawn to, but I was very much interested in trying some Chanel eyeshadows because it's been such a long time. So I do really like the soft effect. In fact, because of how soft the payoff is, like it's pigmented, but it has a soft payoff, it reminds me of Suku eyeshadows. Suku eyeshadows just have this like watercolor effect when you apply it on, which is really beautiful. And I feel like that reminds me of that. The difference would be with Suku eyeshadows, the deeper shades, I wouldn't necessarily be able to get this kind of effect as easily because this builds, it blends out, but if you build on top of it, it's gonna stay in place. Whereas with Suku shadows, they kind of, you know, continue to blend out. And it's actually not as easy to build on top. Like the same shade is not as easy to build because they have this tendency to just keep blending out. But this one you can build, and that's how I was able to kind of create this look. So while they remind me of each other, I still think it's different, obviously different formulas. The shelf life of this product, it's made in France, and the shelf life is 18 months. The eye pencil is made in Italy and has a shelf life also of 18 months. So I do like the eyeshadow quad. I think this is a beautiful formula, and when they say you can create a smoky look, sophisticated, seductive, or natural chic, yes, you can do that with this palette. If you have medium to deeper skin tone, there could be some limitations with these shades here, but you could probably mix some of this to get different textures and create a look that way. So it just depends if you mind having two really light shades. And this one here is also pretty light. You guys can see it just, it's not very visible on my wrist with that swatch. So that's something to consider if you're looking at this. And I can't help but think about how I wished they were able to give us golden Meadow and amber Ombre. Those are the two quads that were released along with the spring collection in January, where we had the dual compact, the blush and highlighter. We had a lot of like terracotta shades, and those two were also leaning towards like very warm terracotta, bronzy reds and browns. But I think because of production issues, they weren't able to send that over here. If they do make it available at some point in the future, I'm still interested in getting them. I think that collection overall is stronger than this one. That's my personal opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Even though I wish we were able to get those two other quads, I still, don't mind, and I certainly will be keeping this in my collection. So thank you guys for watching. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Consider subscribing. Ring the bell to get notified every time new content is released, and give this video a thumbs up. See you in the next one. Bye.